Well, as you begin creating masterpieces in CorelDRAW X4, it'll be important for you to understand the proper way to save your work. So in this lesson, we're going to look at different methods for saving your masterpieces here in CorelDRAW X4. We'll look at simple updates to changes you might make to a file, as well as converting your files to other formats, choosing other locations, even different names to create different versions of your work. So you can see I've already opened up a file to work with, and it's called bistrosign.cdr. You'll find this in the Lesson 1 folder of your exercise files if you've got them. Open it up if you'd like to follow along. You can see that this is actually based on the template we used in the previous lesson. We had that German pub with some different color schemes, different logos, different content. I just simply made a few changes and created my own version of this. And our scenario here is the Green Onion Bistro. So you can see I've got a different logo, different text, different content down below, even different images showing up down here in the bottom corners of my sign. So let's say we want to make a simple change. We're going to raise the price of our vegetarian lasagna. I'm going to go up to where it says $4.99 here and just double click on it. Now automatically that takes me inside the text and changes me over to the text tool. It's selected over here in my toolbox. My cursor happens to be flashing just left of the 4. So I'll hit my delete key. If you're flashing away on the other side of the 4, hit your backspace key. Either way, we want to take out the 4 and add a 5. So now it's gone up by $1 to $5.99. I'm going to go back to my pick tool here in the toolbox right at the top, click on it. Click out here in an empty space to deselect anything to see the finished product. Now, of course, if something were to happen like the power goes out, I shut down Draw by accident and don't save my changes, I will have lost that change. So we need to update this file with the latest change. The easiest way to do that is to go right to your standard toolbar and click on this little icon of a diskette. That's your save button. Control S is the keyboard shortcut if you prefer using the keyboard. Either way, clicking or Control S on the keyboard will update this file with the change. In other words, we've got the newest version of this with the new price saved under the same name, the same format, in the same location. Perfect. Now, what happens if you're collaborating with others? Maybe you want to send this off to somebody who doesn't have CorelDRAW. Maybe they use Adobe Illustrator. Or maybe you want to send it off to a print house to get 1,000 copies printed and they prefer Adobe Illustrator or some other format for that matter. Well, in that case, you wouldn't use the Save button or Control S. In that case, you go up to File and you would choose Save As. Notice Control Shift S is the shortcut for that one. And the ellipses tell me I'm about to launch some kind of dialog box. So when I click on it, the Save Drawing dialog box opens up. You can see the name down below is Bistro Sign. The type is CorelDRAW CDR file. You can see the location here is Lesson 1 folder. If I click Save, I'll be asked, do I want to replace the current version with this new version? Well, that's not actually what I want to do. I want to change a few things. I want to change the location. So I'm going to click on my desktop here. That's where I want to save it. So my location has changed. If I want to change the name from Bistro Sign, I could just by typing something else or adding to this. I'm going to add a 2 at the end by clicking after sign, typing in a 2. And I want to change the format, the type. Notice Save As Type is CorelDRAW by clicking this bar. Wow, there's quite a list here to choose from. Notice at the top I've got some common ones, Illustrator, CorelDRAW, and Corel Presentation Exchange. They also appear down here on the long list along with some other ones like SVG, Scalable Vector Graphics, Corel WordPerfect Graphic. There's a Macintosh PICT or PCT file, Frame Vector Meta file. Lots of options here. Corel Designer's in there and AutoCAD. So let's say our scenario is we're sending this off to someone who uses Illustrator. They're not familiar with Draw. Well, we'll just choose Adobe Illustrator. You can see that now shows up as the Save As Type option, meaning this is going to get a different extension. It won't be the CDR extension, it'll be an AI extension. All I have to do now is click the Save button to accept those choices. The Adobe Illustrator Export dialog box shows up with some options like compatibility. Notice Adobe Illustrator CS, Creative Suite, shows up here. If I click the drop down, I can narrow it down to a specific version. But by choosing CS, those with CS2 or CS3 will be able to open this file. Maybe I want to go to CS2 though. I know the person has at least CS2 on their PC. The destination can be a PC or a Macintosh. What are they using? It's important to know because they'll act differently on different types of machines or hardware. So I'm going to leave it at PC. Export text, and there is some text in my file, as curves so they become objects, or do you want to keep them as text so that they can be edited with a text tool? I'm going to leave them as text. And then we got a series of other options down below. Some are not selected and some are. Notice that the ones with check marks are to include placed images. So there are some images that have been added. They'll be included. So will a preview image. You know when you're browsing for a file and you're looking at thumbnails, well, you want to be able to see a preview of this image, and that can be saved with it when you save to Adobe Illustrator. Other options involve complex filled curves and outline effects and so on, so you can turn any of those on if you wish. But I'm just going to click OK, accepting the defaults. The only change I'm making is the compatibility to Adobe Illustrator CS2. So when I click OK, the export kicks into gear. So it's going to be taking my CorelDRAW file, putting it on the desktop in a new format known as Adobe Illustrator. It may take a moment for that to happen. Meanwhile, I still have my CorelDRAW file in front of me that I could continue working with. So that covers saving. Saving's very important, obviously. If you make changes to a CorelDRAW file, you want to update your file by saving those changes. If you want to save to another format to share with others, collaborate, send to a print shop, you can do that. You now know that that's the Save As command. And if I minimize CorelDRAW, I'll go right to my desktop, and there's my bistro sign. It's an Adobe Illustrator file. Shows up as a blank icon because I don't have Adobe Illustrator installed. So my computer doesn't know what to use to open this up, although I could open it up in CorelDRAW. So that covers saving. You're now ready to move on to working with actual pages in a document, and then after that, we'll start creating objects.